everyone, welcome to my channel. So today, as it is the first Tuesday of the month, I'm going to be updating my Eyeshadow Roulette project. So for those of you who don't know, I do kind of my own take on the Pan Those Eyeshadows project, and I've seen other people do this as well, so I can't take the credit for this project. But instead of waiting to hit pan on an eyeshadow to roll it out, I choose 5 different eyeshadows each month to work on for just that month, and then roll in a new 5 at the end of this video to work on for the next month. I have posted 2 previous updates to this project, so I will be sure to link those down below if you want to go check those out. And with that, we will get into this update. So before I show you all my progress on the 5 shades I was working on for March, I do want to share with you all a bonus pan that I had this past month. So it was in my Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette, and it is in the shade Berry Ice. So there you can see the little baby pan I have, and sorry if my hand is kind of weird in this, I was covering up the shade that I was working on this past month. But there you can just see the little baby pan that I have in here. So this makes 20 pans in my collection out of 501 shades. Not great, but we're getting there. So now we can start updating you all on the 5 shades that I had in for this month. So the first palette that I rolled in was the ColourPop and Disney It's a Princess Thing palette, and I had the shade Thingamabob, so I will insert a picture of where that one was to start. And here is where we are at now. I only used this shade twice. This is probably actually my favorite shade in this palette, but since it is my favorite shade, I don't want to use it. I don't want to hit pan on it or anything. I'm just like in that mindset of when I use a shade, I don't want to use it up because I really like it. So I only did use this one twice, but I just love the look of this shade. It is so stunning. It is a blinding silver shade. So yeah. Next up we have my CoverGirl Peach Punch palette. So I will insert a picture of where this shade started. And here is where we are now. So I had this 4th shade right here. I only used this one 3 times, so you can see a little bit of brushwork in there. This palette was completely untouched when I first rolled it in, so I did get a little bit of use out of it. I did use every shade in this palette, so that was kind of my goal this month, was using every shade in this palette. But I only used this one 3 times this month. I did create some really pretty looks though. I do think this is a nice little drugstore palette, and I look forward to using it more in the future. So next up we have my Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette, and I had the shade Citrus. So I will insert a picture of what that one looked like. And here's where we are at now. So hopefully you guys can see that there is a little bit of a dip in here. These shadows are super soft. I used this one 6 times. This was my most used shade this month out of these 5. So you can see it's kind of like the perfect finger indent right there. But Citrus was basically untouched before I rolled it in. It's not a shade that I used all that often from this palette, but now that I have used it quite a few times, I really, really enjoy it. So yeah, and that's what this project's all about, just getting some use out of shades you wouldn't normally reach for. So that is why I love this project. Next up we have my Wet n Wild Stop Playing Safe palette. So I had shade number 3, so I will insert a picture of what that one looked like. And here's where we are now. So it is this shade right here, and I only use this one twice as well. So you can see again a little bit of brush work in there. I feel like it looks like I use this shade more than this one, even though I think I used them the same amount of times. But this is a very nice, just warm transition shade. I really do enjoy it, and I really like these Wet n Wild formula in these palettes. So I was surprised I only used it twice because I really wanted to reach for this one more, but I'll reach for it more in the future. I'm not really worried about that. So this is just the progress for this update. And lastly, we have my I Heart Revolution and Disney Beauty and the Beast palette. So the shade I had in here was Mrs. Potts. So I will insert a picture of what that one looked like. And here's where we are now on this shade. So I used this one 5 times, which I was kind of surprised about because this palette didn't start out being one of my favorites, but after using it a few more times this month, I do enjoy it. I think the shades perform better than I originally thought they did, so I guess I just had to use it a little bit more and get used to it. But this is where we are with Mrs. Potts. So you can see I flattened out the texture in here a little bit. I was kind of hoping to use it enough to like fully flatten out the texture, but that didn't end up happening, which is fine. This is definitely a palette that I am now excited to reach into some more though, so that is good. So those were the 5 shades that I used for the month of March, and now we are going to get into rolling for April, so let's jump straight to that. Alright, now we are going to get into choosing my 5 new shades for April. So I have all of my palettes that we're going to be using over here, and we will just go through and choose the shades. So the first palette up is my Garden Variety palette, and here is what this one looks like. So once again, if a shade has already been in this project or has pan in it, I will re-roll. So on my Pretty Random app, we have shades 1 through 15, so we will randomize. We get shade number 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is Don't Leaf. So this shade is a Super Shock Shadow. Not my favorite shade in this palette. I feel like it's kind of one of the more lacking shades in this palette, but I will give it a chance this month and have some fun playing around with it. So my next palette is the Revolution Reloaded Basic Mattes palette, and this one also has 15 shades. So once again, we will randomize 1 through 15. We get number 14, which is this dark brown down here. So this is just a dark matte brown, obviously matte. This is an all matte palette. So this will be nice just for a deepening shade. This is a palette that I don't really reach into that much, so I wanted to pull it out this month and hopefully get some good use out of it. So that is our second shade for the month. So the next palette we are going to choose from is my Glitter Realm A Whole New World palette. And here are the shades in this palette. So there are 18 shades in this one. So we will randomize 1 through 18 and number 16. So 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is Abu. So this one is kind of a more basic shade in this palette, but it's still a nice warm brown transition shade. So I am happy that we will be getting some use out of it and just pulling this palette out in general. I feel like I haven't reached for it in a while, even though it is one of my favorite palettes. So that will be the shade we will be working on for April. So next up is my e.l.f. Little Black Beauty Book palette, and this one has 48 shades. So we will randomize 1 through 48. So number 27. So this might take me a little while to count. 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, 25, 26. So 27 is this light green over here. So this is the light green shade we will be using for the month of April from this palette. I'm actually super excited about this because the green shades in this palette are something I do really like to reach for. One of the main reasons that I keep this palette is for those shades, so I'm very happy to be able to use this next month and hopefully get some good use out of this palette, because this is one that is older in my collection and one I don't use as much. So yeah, I'm very excited about this one. And last but not least is my Ulta Beauty and Slytherin palette. So this one has 9 shades in it. So we will go ahead and randomize 1 through 9. And we get number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is the shade Barren. So this is probably one of my least used shades in this palette, but it is super pretty and I'm excited to start experimenting some more with this palette. This is another one that I don't reach for as often just because the colors in here are not my everyday shades, but it is a super pretty palette and I do love it. So I'm excited to get some use out of this and play with this shade. So those are the 5 shades we will be using for the month of April. I will go ahead and insert a picture of the swatches of all 5 of them right now. So I'm very excited about this month. I have a couple palettes that I don't reach into as much and a couple that are definitely staples in my collection. So I think I've got a pretty good mix this month and I'm super excited about it. Let me know what you think of this project down below. If you would like to keep seeing this from me, this is one of my favorite updates to do. I just really, really love this project. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future uploads. I upload this once a month, so be sure to stick around for those videos coming up. And I have more eyeshadow related videos on my channel as well as coming up too. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and with that I will see you all in my next video. Bye!